Creator of all creations, we want to give thanks for this day. We want to give thanks for Turtle Island and all the First Nations that live in that land. Creator, we want to give thanks for a program where our community can once be safe so we can enjoy our life at home. Creator, I just want to give thanks for programs that help with the elders to make them feel safe. Creator, I want to give thanks for Gina and her program that has touched many people's lives here in the Yukon. Kwanlin, Carcass, Tagish First Nation, Pelly, and many more to follow. And Creator, we just want to give thanks for the leadership that support this program in order to steer our communities into a safe environment where we can sleep at night and people can be protected. Creator, I just want to give thanks for each and every one that is sitting here in the sharing circle, that whatever they say is going to touch people's hearts and minds, and the decision that will come from their heart will be met with your hands. Creator, we just want to give thanks for this day. We want to give thanks for the elders that walk amongst us, for one day the elders that walk amongst us, for they are the knowledge and the wisdom keepers and the true teachers of our people. And Creator, I want to thank the little ones that run amongst us, the newborns, that one day they will carry on the work that we all leave behind. And Creator, we just want to reach down and touch our leaders that are elected in order to oversee our programs and services and provide it based on our need. And Creator, I just want to give thanks for Mother Earth, for she provides all that we need. Goodness, she's Creator, for Mother Earth and the Creator of all the things that we are blessed and everything that we learn each day, and the guidance that come from the program that Gina Nagano introduced to all programs on Turtle Island, our beautiful home. Goodness, cheese to can cow. Amen, Creator. Thank you. Thank you very much. You guys enjoy your day.
So I just want to say hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Gina Nagano. I'm a Hwech'in citizen, woman from the Wolf Clan in Dawson City. That's on from my mother's side. I'm a protector and guardian like my grandmothers before me, and there's two before them. I have taken this work seriously and spent about 37 years now in my career in social justice. And out of that 37 years, it's been 21 years as an RCMP officer, and I've worked in many northern communities and fighting for change in Ottawa in how our communities are dealt with and treated. I'm looking at the side of the screen because I'm trying to see you guys, but it doesn't look like I'm looking at you guys, so I am. After retiring from the federal public service, I began my next chapter when I created House of Wolf and Associates, Inc., innovating communities across the Yukon through self-led, trauma-informed community safety initiatives. Just 1 second, please. I'm in a presentation. In addition to the many community safety work, I'm the past chair of Chief Isaac, the Development Corporation of the Hwech'in, and current chair of the Hwech'in Limited Partnership, chair of the Yukon Housing Corporation here in the Yukon in my final year of doing my master's in community economic development. I'm also the committee member for the Yukon Justice Council and the Yukon Justice Federal Council here in the Yukon. Today, I'll share my knowledge and story on how our self-led Indigenous community safety programs are helping build sustainable communities across our territories. House of Wolf, we specialize in social justice infrastructure that is custom, responsive, trauma-informed, and sensitive to the community needs. We build social, well-rounded plans that empower First Nations to walk the reconciliation process and reclaim the strength within their traditions, teachings, and people, bringing healing for the generations that follow. Approach each community and function on the core principles that our work is successful only when it's holistic, when it examines the community's whole, not just the unhealthy or criminal behaviors. Instead, it's mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional states to the medicine wheel. When it's culturally relevant, the process reflects the community's unique cultures and builds on the strengths of the teachings from the elders. when it encourages community involvement. The people that live and work in the community need to be the ones identifying the issues and actioning the solutions. When it recognizes the gifts and strengths of the individuals and the community, using the community's existing strengths and social capital to move forward in a healthy way. When it's respectful of the community's current state of development, recognizing that each community will be starting at a different level of readiness and capacity. When it's developed by and for Indigenous people, the citizens need to own the process to establish the social license that is necessary for change. Our work in First Nation communities come from a very heavy place. We are often invited to communities which are in a bad way. We all know that we can't grow, we can't innovate, and we can't economically sustain ourselves when we're not feeling safe. We become involved to help find the path to healing, change, and growth. We build bridges with other stakeholders in fair, respectful, and government to relationships to gain access to the practical tools and knowledge in identifying, designing, and implementing social justice infrastructure. Indigenous communities from across Canada are still feeling the violent aftershocks of colonization. Much like the infrastructure design, preparing and building capital within a fractured community takes a measured and thoughtful approach. Traumatic events, such as residential schools, forced resettlement, the loss of hunting and traditional lands, have broken the social cohesion of these communities. Central means of identity, such as religion and rituals, were destroyed and replaced by missionaries and bureaucrats who criminalized important cultural practices, such as potlatches, gatherings, and sacred fire ceremonies.
Lena, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I think your paper, the speaking notes are very close to the mic and it creates a bit of a noise. If you can just move them tiny bit, that would be awesome. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Collective trauma raises to the ground existing social ties, inhibits an individual capacity to recreate healthy connections. Intergenerational abuse, substance dependencies, and the loss of cultural teachings and traditions have destabilized many communities and eroded the foundation for social capacity. Increasing opportunities, economic opportunities within remote northern or indigenous communities to positively impact community wellness is a priority. However, how does an organization accomplish this when the cultural context with the community is unhealthy? This brings us to the chicken or egg conundrum. Increase economic opportunity to improve the social environment, where employment is the responsibility of the individual. The social environment from victimization to empowerment and resilience in preparation for later economic development. Given the failed history of the former approach, it is clear to us at House of Wolf that the path to economic sustainability to start from the ground up with the individual and community healing and well-being. Every community is different, and capturing the community needs, goals, and strengths is paramount to building an effective community safety plan. Sorry, I'm just recovering from a cold here. We believe every community has the answers it needs to solve its own problems, to unpack all the harms that have happened and move forward in a good way according to traditional teachings. I'm sorry, I'm recovering from a cold here. We always start our work with research, gathering background information about the structure of governance, the traditions of First Nations communities, information on social and victim services, and statistics from current justice programs, including the RCMP. We look for strengths, we look for capacity, and we recognize and highlight the knowledge within the community. We use a variety of methods to gather narratives from citizens, as well as the administration, that we code for thematic trends and use to analyze subsequent data. We listen, gather stories and narratives, and assess the current capacity in programs. We help engage the community through elder and citizen engagement events to establish a social license to be part of the changes that will be coming. In every community, we create a crime prevention through environmental design report, which is a practical strategy to lower opportunities for criminal and unwelcome behavior, often referred to as the broken window theory. It is the premise that proper design and effective use of physical environment can lead to a reduction and fear and incidents of crime, as well as improvement in the lives of citizens. This could be anything from a bridge that needs a sidewalk, a proper lighting, a well-used pathway, or the removal of debris from around individual homes. Through this process, pride in the community is fostered, and citizens and visitors are safer, and their neighborhoods are perceived as such. At its core, SEPTED theory accepts that people take behavioral cues from their environment, and therefore it is possible to influence behavior through the design and management of the environment. This report has a number of short, mid, and long-term recommendations to foster that pride and ownership of the community and to smash the culture of looking the other way. The effects of climate change are now a lived reality for our First Nation communities. With record levels of snowfall leading to increased flooding in the summer and increasing temperatures causing more frequent and intense forest fires, the need to build capacity to mitigate for and respond to these natural disasters is a pressing issue. Throughout our process of understanding the community, we identify areas where programs needed to be built or improved upon and capacity fostered to address, firstly, the acute issues that communities will face once a natural disaster occurs and the broader impacts that natural disasters will have on the community's safety and well-being. We provide recommendations on how the community can come together to help develop programs such as forming a volunteer fire department, working closely with their land stewards, community safety officers, health and wellness personnel, and municipal and governmental and non-governmental stakeholders. We engage with elders and traditional knowledge keepers to understand how temporary evacuations during a disaster and rebuilding after the disaster can be done in a way that is culturally sensitive, trauma-informed, and centered around safety and well-being. As the community's immediate safety priorities start to be addressed, we leverage this growth in the community's capacity to build mitigation plans and recovery and rebuild strategies. The challenges that climate change will create in the near future will increase the burden on services that are already stretched thin and once again test the resilience of the community. We aim to empower our elders, our youth, our communities alike to face these challenges with the knowledge they need to protect their communities and build a better track. A community assessment and SEPTED report we create for the community are framed by the narratives gathered in the community engagement. They highlight goals for the community and offer a 5-year strategic plan that identifies timeframes, responsibilities, and deliverables to help structure the very challenging task of program implementation. We identify key program interventions that are logical They work towards the goals the community has identified in a measurable and clear manner. Effectively, we help nations identify the gaps that allow for vulnerable people to slip through the cracks. We identify and prioritize goals, both from the community's narratives and from a criminological perspective. The programs we design and recommend focus on crime prevention, diversion, and intervention. Historical relationships with the RCMP have rendered current justice methods in Yukon communities inadequate. Our community safety officer programs embrace a unique framework to each community to reflect the traditional values, in a meaningful way. From the ground up, their training includes both traditional models of peacekeeping, storytelling, and relationship building, as well as a formalized process for connecting individuals with elders and community cultural events. In the words of our community safety officer, team lead, Darcy Marcotte in Pelly Crossing, Yukon, trust is huge because citizens trust us. They open up and we can truly address their needs. We are the community messengers and connect to the community to find the right resources and information to help individuals in need. I'm going to show you the Kwanlin community safety video. The work we have done alongside Kwanlin First Nation has shown exceptional results. The overall reduction in crime, the increase in trust among the citizens, and the pride they feel now within their community speaks volumes. Here's a video by the CBC that showcases their work. We just need volume, Vikram. Can everybody hear this?
Not yet. Yeah, I think Vikram is working on it.
Okay.
Loud music, drug deals. These are some of the calls that Kwanlin safety officers have been responding to over the past 6 months. The team leader says they try to deter people from doing illegal and bothersome activities.
We show up at a party, maybe it's a noise complaint, because that's usually what it starts out as. And most of the time people are compliant. For the times that we aren't, we remind them that, you know, we're the first person that's going to talk to you. So this is essentially a warning. So either you work with us here to try and, you know, resolve this issue, or we could basically go with RCMP or bylaw and issue tickets or whatnot.
Park says the 4 safety officers are unarmed. So if things escalate, they call the police. But officers are also looking out for citizens, making sure people have a place to stay and get there. The program coordinator says having regular patrols around the community is having a positive effect.
We find that, you know, talking to the elders, talking to the youth, talking to the citizens in the community, they've, you know, they're just so happy and excited about having the community safety officers. They feel very safe and grounded, you know, knowing that they're out there patrolling all hours of the evening.
Kwanlin has seen its share of violence and drug-related crime. According to the First Nation, RCMP were called to the McIntyre subdivision more than 800 times in 2015 for drug and alcohol-related offenses. Nagano says since the project started, police visits to the community have significantly dropped. The program is a 3-year pilot project and part of the Community Safety Initiative developed by the First Nation in 2015. Mike Riddick, CBC News, Whitehorse.
Thank you, Vikram. With the passion that the community safety officer, as community safety officer lead Darcy Marcotte and his team, David Bennett and Duran Simon, show for their community, we have witnessed the positive changes that have come up from the community that they've done in the Selkirk First Nation. The community here started the program, I think in 2018, 2019, And it's been on, I think about going on 2.5 years since the inception of the program. I'd like to show a short video clip here again of the program and the community safety officers.
Yeah, this is the public transit safety officer. Can you slow it down there, buddy?
If you're visiting Pelly Crossing, there is a good chance that you'll see the Selkirk First Nation community safety officers patrolling the streets, slowing traffic down, or engaging with youth.
We're the voices and the messengers for the community.
The community safety officers are not the police, but are first to be called by the citizens. The CSOs don't have any policing authority, but are trained to assist the RCMP and de-escalate situations before the police need to be called. Team leader Darcy Marcotte has been called to many situations since the program started in February.
The incident that happened with the lady that went missing in McCabe Creek there back at the end of May, you know, she went missing for quite a while. And then one day we got a call that, you know, there was a sighting of her. So we got that information, and on my way out of the community, we went to go check it out. I called the RCMP and let them know what we had seen and where we were heading. And we got out there and we found that missing person.
8 months into the program, and the community has 5 officers working shifts on both weekdays and weekends. The program was started after the community had 2 homicides in a short period. Chief Sharon Nelson of the Selkirk First Nation knew something needed to be done.
One of the things that we could do is to start developing some safety protocols and safety patrols in the community, just to make sure that, you know, people are not putting themselves into dangerous situations.
Okay, take care.
Solely funded by the Selkirk First Nation, the Community Safety Officer Program is on a 1-year term unless more funding can be found.
Our hope is that this program will continue for several years. It'll depend on, you know, how much funding we have and whether we can get some partnerships with other governments and organizations.
Darcy and his team are happy to make their community safe and take pride in putting on the uniform. Darcy says it works because it's for the community, by the community.
At the end of the day, it's the people in the community, it's their community, and that's what we are. We're part of the people, right? We, you know, unfortunately, you know, you've got the justice professionals, the RCP coming in, they'll come in for 2 and 3 years and then they got to leave. We're here every day, every month, every year. We're there to help. We're there, you know, to be part of the community. It's our community too. It's our families.
Chris McIntyre, APTN National News, Pelly Crossing.
Thank you, Vikram. I'm really privileged to be able to share some highlights of the successes that have come out of the great work here in the Yukon. Sorry, just 1 second. I just gotta grab some here. Citizens who've reported feeling acknowledged through their culturally reflective interventions in crime prevention. It's been amazing what has come of this, and some of the reports in the community have the elders say, you know, that you know, they feel safe in their community. You know, they're able to go out and walk in their community and feel safe, and the children are able to go out and play. You know, these highlights have been very important for the community citizens. The citizens have also report feeling acknowledged through culturally relevant interventions in crime prevention, the crime response, and restorative justice that are in harmony with the spirit and intent of the justice focused calls to action in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and relevant calls to justice in the National Inquiry into the Murdered Missing Women and Girls. In a recent survey of a participating First Nation community, 100% of the citizens indicated the Community Safety Officer Program respected their culture and values. Citizens generally feel safer and less stressed and more comfortable in asking for help to address potentially unsafe, or criminal activities, which further reduces the incidences of crime. One Selkirk First Nation citizen told me simply, The kids are out riding their bikes again. It's incredible. In Teslin, we have two elder sisters, Margaret and Joyce DeVille, matriarchs of their community, patrolling and engaging with the citizens, revitalizing culture and traditions with each and every interaction. We work with our community safety officers to capture and analyze data and provide reporting so they can track what they can risk, what the key risk factors are, how they're being addressed, and where resources needed to be directed to make the work of the CSOs and other community partners more respectful. In a very human way, our work to organically shift the social cultural context onto a healing path is transforming Yukon communities. This heavy work we do is validated in the Yukon MMIWG strategy as a pathway to action. I raise my hands to that recognition. The recognition that is shared responsibility is a shared responsibility to prepare, move forward, and build a better tomorrow. The Indigenous Economic Gap is understanding how trauma affects economic prosperity and growth. One side of the equation, there is a prosperous development corporation. On the other side, citizens who are not benefiting from the opportunities available within their communities. For example, it could be the resource industry or a First Nation development corporation. First Nations across the country have a distrust of authority figures or people in power, given their historical treatment. For many perspectives, including economically, often the colonial systems that traumatize Indigenous people are the same systems affecting their lives now, be it government, police, or capitalist enterprises. Traditional teachings tell us the truth about collective well-being, that all things are intricately related, effecting positive change at the individual citizens level. Is a bottom-up process in creating sustainable and lasting positive determination in the well-being of the community. From the perspective of the development corporation or any organization looking to prosper within the community, the culture within that organization and its ability to be sensitive and responsive is likely its largest push between failure and success. The demand for our programming is unprecedented. We need to know for the work, we know the need for the work will only grow necessary as Canada continues to find its way forward on the path of reconciliation and healing. In fact, colonial justice systems stand to learn a great deal from Yukon First Nations traditional laws and justice methods, as Indigenous-led community safety programs consistently have better social, economic, and cultural outcomes. Addressing the need for safer communities, bridging the Indigenous economic gap, and understanding the challenges of climate change and building capacity for mitigation, response, and recovery is essential for healthy and sustainable communities. Thank you, Masicho, and I'm open for any questions.
Hello, everyone. David Harrison. I'm the Manager of Emergency Planning and Response for the Squamish Nation. Yeah, thank you for that presentation. That was incredible. I know that there's some interest in within the Squamish Nation and getting some type of hybrid, like community safety / guardian initiative going, and so that yeah, that presentation was very interesting. So wondering if I can have a copy of the slides so I can share with some of our leadership.
Absolutely, David, and thank you very much for being here today. I'm more than willing to not only share the slide, but also present to your leadership, should you wish. Yeah, it's been quite the journey, so absolutely, we can certainly do that.
Great, thank you.
I do have a question, Lily, for some invites, some guests here. Is anybody from another First Nation or another community across Canada here have a similar program or a tribal policing program within their traditional territory?
It's been a long 20 years, Gina, since we worked together in Ottawa.
You know, I was gonna go, that man looks familiar.
Yeah, to answer that question, Gina, one of my communities that I do work for in New Brunswick, they do have like, but they just call it security. But, you know, they're marked cars, uniforms to patrol the community at night, first response. But the question I was going to ask, and maybe I missed this earlier in the presentation, was they are solely funded on own source revenue, as far as I know. And as you know, we used to have the band constable program that was funded by public safety that dissolved around 2013 or 14. And as far as I know, no other money has come into the communities from public safety. So are your communities funded by ISK or public safety, or is there any funding available?
Well, first of all, Dawn, it's really great to see you. I'm just going, that face looks so familiar. Dawn and I worked together in Ottawa on National Aboriginal Policing Services many years ago. So it's fantastic. Dawn, so getting to your question is there any funding? What I did was when we started the whole program back in 2015-16, we lobbied territorially to get some territorial funding. And just recently, the current Liberal government just announced to the Yukon communities $2 million to contract out to do what we do is a community assessment first, Dawn, and the crime prevention through environmental design. It's really imperative that we do these assessments in the community first to get the information and the story from the community. Because what we fail to do is we fail to ask our communities, our own sessions, our own people, what is their community safety priority? And here's an analogy that I'll use is when I went to one of our local communities, I went and did a survey and a community engagement session, and all this, the 90% of the citizens said drug trafficking was their main problem in the community. And then I go to the RCMP, Don, and you and I know is that when you roll out national priorities, those same national priorities that are created for Canada are rolled out to every community, and we have to adopt them. And we added a little bit of our own. So here we had the RCMP, who their priority was motor vehicle acts and speeding in the community. So I'm going, all right, no wonder this doesn't work. We got the RCMP's got motor vehicle acts as a safety priority, and we got the community people saying drugs is a safety priority. So these the community assessments are important to get those stories identified from both sides so they can work together. So what we've done is we've really engaged the government, the Yukon government. They're starting to listen now, Dawn. It took a while. It's politically driven sometimes. You can have the right government in place where they'll give you the funding, and then you got to lobby another government. I've opened up the ears to the minister, Marco Mendocino, from federal government to Public Safety Canada to listen. I have our MP, Brendan Handley, who is lobbying for us. I have Chief Doris Bill of the Kwanlin First Nation, who is lobbying for us federally to get fundings to fund our programs. One of the success of the program is we encourage our First Nations, Indigenous communities to invest up front, whether it's in kind, whether it's funding dollars, because we need to own the program. If we don't own the program up front, what happens is it becomes taken over by the federal or territorial government, and it becomes so colonialized again, shall we say, and we don't want that. So the pride comes back into the community once they own the program and they lead it. So we are lobbying. We do have the ears of the federal government. I'm trying to do the shift from say, why are we funding First Nation policing programs if they're not working in our communities? Maybe some are, but I know the core of the ones we have, I haven't seen the success yet. The really neat thing about what we're doing now going forward to rationalize our funding is we actually keep stats on the number of calls our community safety officers are having and comparing it to the chief and council RCMP reports that we get. And it's not about dissing the police or whatnot. We just want to show what we can do or they can do within our own communities. Here's another example I want to give you about the success of the program. And I really want to thank Kwanlin Dunn for leveraging me and empowering me to where I initially started the work that I did. It was a crisis situation, and this community was in turmoil. It was I'll give you an explanation of the community. It's a kilometer by kilometer. We're in an urban setting. We're police 365 days a year, 24/7. They have 2 satellite RCMP First Nation policing in their community, and 250 homes, 500 citizens living. And I got called there because of a murder that happened in the community, and they were at their wits' ends. They've had it, and it was like a third world functioning right in the hub of the city. And when I went to work there, one of the things I did was I found out through the number of police calls as services in the community, and vision this is that I only live 5 minutes away in another subdivision, and I've never seen the police in 3 years that I lived there. I'm literally 5 minutes away from Kwanlin Dunn. And I pulled the RCMP number of calls of services, and this is just the police. I'm not including ambulance, I'm not including bylaw, I'm not including anybody else and all the other justice resources. Is in 1 year, in 2015, they received 1,076 calls of police services. What it told me was every person made 2 phone calls to the police every day throughout the entire year. And the core of them was 85% substance, alcohol, or drug-related incidences. High rates of domestic violence, assault, sexual assaults, break and enters, thefts, willful damage, etc. And we really looked at those stats, and it told us the story. It told us a story about what's going on in the community. It's not about everybody is a criminal. It's about social issues that are happening in our communities as a result of all these historical impacts that have happened. And until we address that, until we reconcile with our own communities and our own people, how can we ever move forward as I talk about the economic gap? And what we did was when we started working with the community, get this, I phoned the inspector, Archie Thompson. I was working with him. And I said, Archie, Chief Doris Bill wants to know the number of calls. So I phoned up in 2016 of police calls to Kwanlin Dunn. So remember this, 1,076 calls in 2015. I get a call back and he said, Gina, 666 calls. I go, no, Archie, I need the calls for the whole year. He goes, no, that's the number of calls. We dropped the number of calls of police services by 40%. I've never seen this anywhere else, 40%. The ripple effect of that is not just policing. You're talking about social justice. You're talking about education, people in social assistance, people involved in the health programs. So all these issues that we've seen are social issues that we need to take some responsibility for. We as a community need to step up and own this and move forward. So this is the work and the journey we've been on for the last, my gosh, it's been 9 years now. And one of the great things about the Arctic Inspiration Prize is that it allows me to build my own capacity to create a curriculum to do the training that I do for the communities that I go into. And I'm also developing a 4-week community safety officer program that is Indigenous designed and led. And the third that I would love to invite you all to, should you wish to come, is we're hosting the first Indigenous Community Safety Summit here in the Yukon in Whitehorse on August 3rd, 4th, and 5th. This is where we will share best practices around our community safety program, which will also incorporate anything around community safety officers, which you, if you wish to choose to learn about, educate us more about, we would love to have you here. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Lena. Really good question. I think I answered about the funds gathered for this program. Are the officers allowed to carry firearms? No, I don't want that to go to that level. They're peacekeepers and they're really respected in the community. And we don't want that enforcement officer component to this. And I think that's one of the success of the program is they're so proactive and interactive and approachable. And I'd just love for you to have a Google and look on the Teslin Tlingit Council community safety officers, and they're two matriarch women they're 65 plus years of age. And they're so respected in their community because we're bringing back the Hwech'in, their traditional justice, their traditional ways. And we're waking up the community to remind them of their traditional values. If we respected our laws and our own traditional values of honesty, trust, respect, forgiveness, love, sometimes I say if we went back to those values, we probably wouldn't need the criminal code because that's what we were governed by. And it's so great to see that being brought back today, and it's working. That's the thing, it's working. And that's what I'd love to see, through the program. And what we also teach them is what they call case management services, trauma informed. So you go there and you don't go in as a police officer and you react to it and you walk away. What we teach them is to say, okay, if this is the third time or fourth time you encountered this individual, say he was intoxicated, well, what we do is we bring those wraparound services to that individual. We bring that support, that help, and follow up with them and touch base with them every day to make sure they're doing okay and get them on their red path going forward, their healing path. So as we know, if somebody is dealing with addictions, they can't go out and get all those resources they need. The CSOs are trained to bring those resources to them.
Hi there. I just wanted to also make a comment and question as well. My name is Andrew Van Eden, Community Safety Manager for Tsleil-Waututh Nation, neighboring nation to Squamish Nation, I think. And I also send greetings from my coworker, Lori Simcox, who I believe knows you.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I've been in this role for 19 years, and my primary responsibilities here are really liaising between the community and local police and the justice system, the external justice system. As well as some emergency management. And I think the CSO program is super inspiring for all of us. And I'm sure you've gotten a tremendous amount of attention over these years. I'm really excited about the summit, hearing about that. I am quite interested in the training. And you talked about you're creating a kind of a training module and curriculum, but to date, has that training for your CSOs been fully sort of community traditional based training, or have you had to send them off to other formalized external types of resources as well, or how has that happened so far?
Thank you for that question, Andrew. And yes, it's great to say hello, Lori, for me. Just to give you a little bit of history, when we first started the Community Safety Officer program, and I just want to say, and I want to emphasize is that some communities may not get a community safety officer program as a result of the community assessment or the CEPTED recommendations. In this case, many of our communities have. We've recommended a community safety officer program because you can come up with 3 or 4 recommendations in your priorities of what the community needs. Your community, for example, the priority may be establishing an emergency preparedness team, for example, and that's a priority, and addressing the drug trafficking or the bootlegging in your community. In many cases in our community in the North, it's been the community safety officer program. So yes, the training, when we first started the training, and we created a training in a partnership with the BC Justice Institute and rolled out a full-week community safety officer program back then. But what we realize now is it was tailored to one particular community. And even though we still had the trauma-informed process and some of the training that's required, we brought the instructors here to the Yukon, and we found instructors here in the Yukon. But because we're doing it and shifting the lens from an Indigenous-led and Indigenous certified that we're looking at doing is I've hired a curriculum writer to research what are the best courses, what are the best teaching going forward, how do we incorporate the traditional work and with the curriculum and some of the modern services or courses that the CSOs may need, because they still need to know how to do notebook taking, for example, and then they need to understand their traditional laws in their community to be able to incorporate that as well in the work going forward, as well as trauma informed, etc. So right now we're exploring that. We have a curriculum writer researching this information. If you have any input or data that you would like to see or share, that would be wonderful. The very good questions. And as we roll it out, we will certainly share the curriculum as well.
Thank you so much. That's really awesome. Thanks.
Is one of the things what we do in our communities here in the North, when I do the community safety work, is I do what they call almost a 3-circle approach. And the first circle is when we look internally into our own First Nation, into our own government to establish safety. And one of the things that I've researched and seen is that we don't have our own occupational health and safety. So if we don't even keep our own employees or First Nation citizens safe, how do we go about and try to make the community feel safe? So we look internally to put that in place. And then secondly, is I do the community safety. And the community safety work is where we look at saying, what are some of the recommendations through a community engagement session, through surveys, asking the questions, looking at the police stats, crime reports, surveys, housing reports, all this to say, what is it that the community needs to feel safe? And then the third, where Lily and her team will come in and really support us, is the emergency preparedness side. So you can if we make our government safe, our First Nation government safe, if we make our community safe, we now need our citizens safe. We now need to do the third circle where we do, how do we make the entire community safe from natural disasters, from pandemics, from fires, from a flood? How do we prepare for that? And that's the third circle I talk about when I really prepare a community. And we have one of our communities, a couple of our communities that are on their way to doing that. These are not short-term processes. Some of these community initiatives can take 2 to 3 years. Some can take up to 5 years. But once we leverage them and we get the community on their way, we empower them to take the wheel and take it forward. Type of hours and staffing, I leave that for the community. And what we do is when we do the analysis of the number of calls that police services to that community, for example, when we do an analysis of the crime stats, we say, okay, well, between, every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the second week of the month, between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. is when the large number of calls come in. And we sort of stagger and look at those are the best times for the safety officers to work. And the community, here's a great thing about it is, man, I tell you, the community, the citizens know. They just know. They know everything before anybody knows of what trends or what's happening or who's coming to the community with I'm going to say with some alcohol, because we have one community, we're dealing with bootlegging issues. We know who's on the road coming with some drugs into the community. So, it's that we allow the community, and like I said, it's their program. The program runs under their First Nation government, and the lead community safety officer sets up their hours. They work it when they feel that it's the most appropriate time. And it also wraps around community events, because we have community safety officers like the Kwanlin safety officers who spend time, working at the schools where they actually walk kids home that have been bullied. So these are examples of what they do. And like I said, they wrap it around their community needs. Good question. I've got a question about the agenda outline for the symposium in August. We're still working on it. It is looking fantastic, right, Lily? So it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be the inaugural We're, trying to finish up putting this together. Once that's out there, we're hoping to launch this really soon in terms of getting the website for those that are interested in registering and coming. There is a limited amount of capacity, as we all know, in terms of attendance. And secondly is the hotel issues that we deal with in the Yukon. We are reserving a number of hotel rooms to put aside for this event. So once the agenda is done, I'm hoping within a couple of weeks here that we'll be able to develop at least the draft agenda to get out to people to have a look. Thank you. Yes,
People are very hopeful to get there, so that's great.
This is going to be so amazing. It's I'm just really excited about it, and I really want to thank the Arctic Inspiration Prize, and to make this dream come true. It will be here in Whitehorse, Yukon, and if you haven't been here, it's going to be beautiful in August. We're running it from August 3rd, 4th, and 5th here, and it will be in a beautiful venue called the Kwanlin Cultural Center. It's a huge venue where everything will be hosted on site in terms of the breakout rooms to share some information. There's going to be a massive main hall. Incredible food will be provided. Beautiful hospitality. So I'm really looking forward to having yourselves, register and come forward. There's a no cost event at this time, so it's just a matter of you paying your airfare and your hotel and coming on. Yes, absolutely. We will have it live streamed as well. It's even into the breakout rooms. So again, it's all about sharing best practices, and those that have programs, we'd love to hear from you. Those that are interested in programs, there's going to be so much valuable information, and it's not just about the community safety officers, it's also about the emergency preparedness side as well.
Hi, good afternoon. It's Regis Poulin. I started at the Batchewana First Nation Health Center just recently as the community health representative. About a month ago, I started at Batchewana Health Center and the Nondoe Gameg, and part of my background is emergency management. So it's one of my multiple jobs. My one question was, how can I get something initiated, like my beginning processes to start a community safety officer position?
Very good question, Regis. For those that are interested, is if you go to my website, I posted it online. It gives you a bit of background about the work we do. So in order to sort of get to a community safety officer program, that's just one component of the work that's done. What we do with House of Wolf is we do the community assessment first, and the crime prevention through environmental design. And through those recommendations, because it's a huge community engagement session that we do, born out of the recommendations, you may or may not, your community may or may not require a community safety officer program. And that's what we do. And we analyze it to see. And if it is, excuse me, Regis, is that we support you, we provide you all the information about how to get that program up and running off the ground. You may find as an emergency worker that maybe it's a community safety officer program that's not required. Maybe it's more emergency preparedness officers, sort of, I'm just giving you something hypothetically in your community. So we wait for the recommendations to come out, because your community may say, hey, Regis, that's not what we're asking for. We don't need community safety officers. What we need is land stewards. People are poaching all over the place and destroying our animals. This is our subsistence way of living, right? So you may go, oh, okay. So then we work with you on how to establish that program going forward. Here's a good example of a community in Selkirk First Nation. One of the recommendations was a community of, I think, 300 people, and they have no fire department. They have no volunteer firefighters. So the recommendation there was, we need volunteer firefighters. And that's a priority. The reason why Selkirk First Nation and Kwanlin, all these programs have sort of initiated a community safety officer program is we had individual, I knew in my heart that community needed it. As a spent after 37 years in the justice system, I could vision and see that community needed safety officers to establish that foundation of safety, because women wouldn't go out and walk. Elders wouldn't even walk in the street, and children couldn't play. So I had people that were trained, that had some background in justice, that could take the lead and work alongside me, and I'd mentor them into the role. It didn't mean that the role would continue or we could have dissolved it, but it justified itself as we went forward in the means of it. So we kept the program going. The safety officers at the time established, like I said, they're just having their presence was important in the community. They actually take those recommendations that we have done and implement them. So that's what they do as well going forward. Oh, so getting back to what I'm saying to you is just give me a shout after, check out my link, give me a call. And like I said to everybody and anyone out there, is that I can do, I do have another presentation about the work I do, how I do it. And I'd love to train other people. I can't wait to train other people to do the work that I do, because right now I'm the only person. I just recently hired on 2 assistants to help me out, but I'm really trying to find individuals that would love to do the work I'm doing and carry it forward, because it's a successful program. I mean, we're evaluating it. It's been evaluated in one community. I can't wait to evaluate in another community. So, and it's the people that tell you it works. So thank you very much, Regis, for the question.
Yes, thank you. I hit home in several different aspects there, because I'm a fire prevention officer in one of my communities. And then Badge 1 First Nation has 3 separate communities. So we have a Badge 1, Gula Mission, and Rankin Reserve. And then I live in the bush off reserve in Surgemont. So like it all kind of hit home, and I would love to, I'm definitely going to reach out to you.
Yeah, it's fantastic too. And sorry, what I wanted to say too, the reason that we, at some of those communities where we started the CSO officers right away, because I had somebody who's trained in the community and had some great skills that would take us, they had murders in the community. And back when it was back to back, it was crisis response, but I had to do something proactive rather than reactive. And that was hence why sometimes the program, I don't want to say the word jump the gun, but move forward as a priority based on my quick analysis of it. But again, I just want to say carefully that I can also pull it back, because the communities might say that's not what we need. But in terms of my research, the recommendations going forward says, yes, continue the program.
Thank you for all the information. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Lily, for inviting me to the sharing circle today. It's been quite an honor to be able to speak to a number of you and present to a number of you across Canada. And like I said, the website is posted, and I look forward to hearing from you and sharing this incredible work that is successful for our community. And it's not just an individual healing journey that's going on here. It's an entire community, And if you look at the success of Kwanlin done, they have shifted from a community in crisis to an economically sustainable community that's moving forward. They had the highest population of the highest number of children in care when I first started to almost 0. They went and shifted from a number of, where 94% of the community feels safe, to where before it was 94% didn't feel safe. They have the highest number of individuals applying now for post-secondary education they've never had before. So these are some of the realistic successes that are happening in our community as a result of working with our community. So thank you very much.